What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Broadcast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And we had a pretty good response to the first episode, I think. And we weren't going to do this every week. And I don't think we are going to do this every week, but we have a lot of stuff to talk about still. So
yeah, we had a lot of fun with it last week too.
Yeah.
We couldn't stop thinking about it. And we know all the bros out there wanted to hear some more of our sexy, smooth voices.
The bros.
The bros.
See, it's pretty funny because the whole bro thing with Brograph is kind of ironic. I get, you know what I mean? Or
maybe people don't know it's ironic,
right?
Maybe they just think we're a couple of frat boys.
Some people, I don't think some people know that.
I've always wanted to be cool,
which is interesting. So,
story behind Brograph. Dave and I went and got lunch one day, and we were trying to come up with a name for a thing. The thing.
The thing.
And we needed a name, and we were trying to come up, kind of play off of Mograph.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he screamed out, Brograph! And we started laughing about it, and then we registered the domain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
That's history for you. We're outside of a sandwich shop.
Mm-hmm. Outside of Paradise.
Yeah,
Bakery.
Paradise.
And the thing about it too is that even with our artwork and everything, it's we just kind of came up with a really quick logo and threw it up there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
We spent a little time animating it, but it wasn't like we put much thought into branding.
Right.
So
we were really just more excited about getting tutorials out there.
Exactly.
So and then 2 years later, the website is still kind of the same.
And we're like, well, this has kind of gone somewhere, and now we have this kind of not so great logo, and we're trying to teach people how to make good looking logos. So, so we decided to kind of rebrand, which we're in the middle of right now. You might have noticed.
Yeah, it's kind of mixed between the two right now, but the latest video that Dave did with the Octane breakdown kind of had the new logo on there. We've been updating it on all of our social stuff.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Otoy retweeted that.
Yeah, totally. But take it with a grain of salt because Otoy retweets everything. It's hey, I made a 3D cat one day. Retweeted by Otoy.
I want them to post it on their Facebook. They got 1.2 million followers. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Grayscale Gorilla, they only have 47,000 followers on Facebook, so I don't know how Otoy did that, but...
Yeah, seriously. Of course, Grayscale's going for After Effects and Cinema 4D. Otoy, they've got all the other systems as well.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know, but still, 1.2 million, that seems like a lot. Maybe it's because they retweet everything. I don't know.
Well, the other thing about rebranding is you forget how many places you have your logo. So
I can imagine you were going through today. Oh shit! I got a Twitter account.
Right. Oh, I got to put it here. I got to put it here. And plus, they all have a slightly different requirement. Oh, it's got to be this dimension, and then you do that, and then it's oh, I'm sorry, all the dimensions are perfect except it can only be 4 meg, and yours is 4.1 meg.
So dumb.
And then, this has to be 3 meg, and so then I have to recompress it for that. And some of them have circles, and some of them are squares, and some of them, the ratios are off, so you have to make another version. And then they have the header artwork, and dang.
You think we'd be able to hire an intern to do this?
Oh yeah, because we're so rich.
Yeah, we have an open call for interns right now.
Right.
You get to work from home.
Yeah. So
you get real world experience.
Yeah.
By working from home.
That's what I want to do. I want to work from home.
Every day.
Every day, kid.
Every day, kid.
So we had a good response, and we also posted something on the Cinema 4D subreddit and asked, what would you like to hear? What would you like us to talk about? So we got some responses, and I figured we could go through that if you want.
Sure. Yeah, actually, one thing that I wanted to talk about before we go on to that, it was about kind of playing off of last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon while I click a few times because I'm trying to go to the Facebook page of V-Ray for C4D. They showed off some of the stuff, and one thing I forgot to mention that I'm really excited about the new V-Ray is I'm trying to find out the exact name for it. It is called...
Yes?
Sorry.
I just wanted to hear myself because I'm trying to hear myself in my headphones right now.
Uh-huh.
My monitor sucks. Okay.
Oh, come on.
I just muted myself.
So you got all those dynamic bucket splitting. Okay, that's what they're calling it, which is so cool. You know, when you get down to like your last few buckets, you know, and it just takes forever and just drags on. What it does is this actually cuts the buckets in half and then in half again and then in half again by how many processors you've got left over. So it just like knocks out those last couple buckets really quick. It's way cool.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you know, you got threads just sitting there doing nothing there at the end. Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one thing that I want to talk about because I thought I'm kind of excited about that. You know, keep you from getting angry.
Right.
At those last few buckets, especially when you're doing like, you know, liquids and refraction stuff. Ugh.
Is that a plugin or like how does that
work? That's for Cinema 4D, or that's the V-Ray for C4D. That's one of the new.
In the new. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was like something that you had to install with it or.
Nah.
Oh,
cool if someone did like a plugin for regular standard renderer.
Let's do it, man. Let's make $1 million.
Here we go.
We'll call it Mr. Bucket.
We're hiring interns who have coding experience.
I'm Mr. Bucket.
Balls pop out of my mouth.
So let's talk about the Reddit topics here for a minute.
Sure.
One thing I always talk to others about is cheating effects to save render times. People love to crank settings to max, but when doing professional work, you don't always have time for 30 minutes per frame.
Yeah, I know one guy in particular who will, you know, make his stuff look as clean as possible. I think you know who I'm talking about. He'll spend a little bit too much time when sometimes he just doesn't need to. Yeah. But his stuff always comes out looking really good.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Very good. I would say, like, here's an example. When I was working on bottles, for the bottles in that breakdown video that we released last week, I actually, you know, I didn't always have time to render to the max, of course, and, you know, it's not really a, I guess, a flicker thing or a quality thing with Octane. It's actually a samples thing, right? So it's about the grain. It's about how much grain you have, and what would happen is, let's say you did like, I don't know, 1024 samples, and that's all fine and good, but that takes, I don't know, a few minutes a frame, and then you figure out how many frames you got, and it's going to take 12 hours to render. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to leave here tonight at like 6 o'clock, so by the time I get back in the morning, you know, 14 hours later, it'll be done. However, if I go to 2048 samples, which is, you know, the nice thing about Octane and GPU is that it's going to be exactly twice the time.
Yeah.
If I want to do 2048, well, it's not going to be done when I get back in the morning, and I really need the thing to be done. And so what I'll do is, if it's just good enough, I'll figure out, you know, like, what is my max? What can I do to have this thing done by tomorrow morning when I get back and still have it look halfway decent? And it'll be about 90% there. And then I really, really love the noise reduction plugin that Red Giant does, and I'll throw that on there.
Denoiser?
Yeah, the denoiser is so good. It is so good.
I looked at it. I also, when I was looking at denoising stuff, there was another one that I was looking at that showed with Octane. Let's see if I can find the name of it.
I think I know which one you're talking about, and I tried a lot of them to see, but like, to me, that was the one that really worked the best.
Neat Video.
Yeah.
That was the name of the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I then saw a breakdown. I was curious because I wanted to buy one of them, and saw a breakdown between Neat Video and Magic Bullet Denoiser, and they actually found that the Magic Bullet, you know, kind of gave you a little bit better quality.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's weird. Like, it's a little, I don't know what you would call it's a little schizo when it comes to like what is going to make a good denoise and what isn't. So you have to kind of do like a test frame and see if it's going to work first. Because what will happen is like you'll set it to default 100% and it'll look pretty good, right? But if you really want to crank it up, say like 300%, which is what I did a lot of the time, sometimes it will make this amazing looking picture at 300%.
Does it do like the blurry, old timey, pretty girl effect that you see?
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes, I mean, just perfect, as if you did those 2048 samples or whatever, right? Other times it just looks hideous, and you have to do like 100 instead. Or there's kind of a trade-off sometime, like I would have areas that were particularly grainy in the scene. And so what I would do is I would render an object buffer for those grainy areas, and I would only put it on those. Because then like the rest of the scene where you had like no grain, but you had some really good looking bump maps with fine detail, that disappears if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to comp. And the other thing about that is
That's a good idea. I never thought about using, pre-comp specifically or object buffer specifically just for your noisy parts. That's cool.
Yeah, it works really well.
Huh. Interesting. And a big thing about this, talking about saving time, you don't have to do everything in Cinema 4D or in Octane or whatever. Use these third-party plugins after the fact, like we never, ever do motion blur. We never bake that in because we want to be able to have control over that. And it runs so much faster when you just throw the effect on the RSMB on afterwards.
Yeah, when you put the vector pass in and do the RSMB with the vector pass.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
I mean, anyone who wouldn't do that is just ridiculous.
God, idiot. But that's okay. So that's the joke.
Dave makes fun. The joke is that I never do a vector pass. If you've seen a few of mine where I put RSMB on it, I never put a vector pass on. Dave always gets mad at me for not putting a vector pass on.
Because you get the smudgy.
Yeah, but you know what? I've done the vector pass, and it's just like there's so much work to it when you could just throw the plugin on and go.
It's not that much work. I did a tutorial on how to do it the right way.
Yeah, I know, and I watched it, and I still don't do it that way.
The only reason all you got to do is just cut that out. That's all you got to do is cut it out. And here's the other thing is, you remember, I used to have the problem, and it's probably in that tutorial, how you have to kind of choke back the alpha channel that you're using on it.
Yeah.
Because you get like this little edge around your vector pass that is like stair-steppy alias looking black, right? Well, I was looking into this, and our friend Joe, actually, who is a Nuke guy who has been working in After Effects with me a lot lately, and he's like, and I'd step back into After Effects. He's like, there's no pre-mult options here. And that's basically what's going on is, everything is pre-multiplied. So you don't have the option to say, don't interpret this as pre-multiplied. So that's what's going on is you get that stair step. And the cool thing now is that Red Giant has their universal plugin deal. You know what I'm talking about? Have you looked at this yet?
No, I haven't. What is it?
It's like Creative Cloud for plugins.
Really?
Yes, it's really cool.
How much is it a month?
I forget what it is because I just did the trial, and the trial's great. It has some really cool stuff. Their VHS filter is hilarious. You got to check that out.
Did you see that new app on your iPhone that makes all your stuff look like an old VHS camera?
I totally have it.
So ridiculous.
It's so funny.
Universe, is that what it is?
Yeah, Red Giant Universe. My trial just ended.
$99 premium annual.
Yeah, and
it's $100 a year.
You get all these plugins, man. It is so cool.
Or you can do $10 monthly. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, you got to check this out. Just install the trial and try it out. Like the glow effect. Here's what's cool about the glow effects is that, like, I'm always having trouble getting a decent glow with the basic glow plugins in After Effects. There's some really cool glow plugins, and all sorts of stuff, man. You got to check it out. Now, here's the thing about it. There is a plugin in there called Unmult, and it's an unmultiply plugin, and it's like the missing plugin that After Effects should have by default to unmultiply something.
Jeez, sorry. Did you hear that?
What? No, I didn't.
Okay, sorry. I accidentally hit the play the button on the universe thing.
Oh, so yeah, man. I mean, that's what's really cool. If you're doing RSMB, you can do all your motion blur with RSMB. That is a way to save time. You can now you can use that technique that I was showing, and then not have to go through quite as many steps with like the choking and stuff to make sure you don't get the weird edges, because you can use that unmult. And
oh, these are just like effects and stuff like this, but this isn't like their big red giant stuff.
No, and
see, that's what I was hoping it was. Like I was hoping it's like $10 a month for trap code.
Man,
heck yeah,
they're making too much money off of that, I think.
Yeah,
or maybe they'll get there eventually.
I mean, there's a lot of good ones in here.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff in there. Yeah, and I think part of the problem is it's like, well, I already paid for these plugins. Why would I pay again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, the other thing is Frischluft. That's a really cool plugin, and that's definitely a time saver.
You know, and I use that one just when doing stills too. Like I won't render out I'll render out a Z pass, you know, and just do the Frischluft in After Effects.
It looks so good, and you have such control.
So good, so much control. I mean, you can rack focus after the fact. The only thing that you don't get though is Frischluft is done for depth of field and creating blur.
Yeah.
In case you guys don't.
And you definitely don't get, the same look you would get if you did it in camera. I mean, but it is really close, and it looks really good.
For sure. Yeah.
I think, like, you don't get, like, when you're rack focusing on something and it's like super depth and super extreme change in focus, and something's way blurred, you get kind of like almost a light bend around an object when it's super out of focus. Like, you can't fake that. I mean, there's kind of a limit that you get with Frischluft when you get super extreme, but for the most part, it's really great. And the other thing is that the out of focus plugin that comes with it too, like, picking your facets and all that kind of stuff, it's gorgeous. Like, I never use the other focus plugins because it looks so good.
Yeah, totally. It's a good plugin. It's a real good plugin.
What else is a good cheating effect? Yeah.
I don't know. Installing team render on a bunch of your other.
Well, it's not an effect.
Yeah, it's not an effect. That's a way to cheat it, though. Come in early, or install it on all your neighbors' devices and just set it to go while they're not working.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing, though. It's not really a cheating effect, but know when enough is enough.
Yeah, totally. Settings. Like if you're adding a bump and you don't need a bump, or if you're adding, like, for example, in the bottle one that you guys were doing, you used bump instead of
displacement.
Yeah. I mean, displacement would have taken forever, but you got the exact same effect using just a simple bump.
Yeah, you wouldn't notice the difference. I mean,
no, in fact, I asked you, I said, wow, I can't believe you just used displacement on all that. You're like, no, that's just a bump.
Yeah, on all of them except for De Leon.
Yeah.
Well, there's no getting around
that. One looked so good.
Thanks.
That one looks so good.
Yeah, it was tough, man. And I'm not a good, like, hand draw artist. You know what I mean?
Me neither.
And that's the kind of thing that comes up in those situations, like doing UVW unwraps and like painting stuff. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, that's something that I wish I knew a whole lot more about.
Yeah.
Was the unwrapping UVWs and stuff. I need to do some tutorials on that myself, because it seems like it seems like just a whole nother world to me.
Well, it's not as needed, I mean, that's why you don't get as much experience with it. Like, it doesn't come up as often.
Yeah,
it used to be back in the day. Like, in order to texture something, you had to do that.
There's been a few times where I'm like, I've created these, like, couch cushions and stuff, and then once I start adding the wrinkles in there using the sculpting tools, it'll mess everything up. Anytime I'm using the sculpting tools, sometimes it'll mess stuff up. As far as the UVW, so then just being able to unwrap that, I think would be good to know. It's something I need to do. No, that's just me talking. That's not advice.
Yeah, those bumps though, like not using bumps. I don't know how much bumps really affect render time in Octane, but I know that in the regular renderer, if you have like bump on something and you're putting bump on all this stuff, and then it's just going to be like a background element, that's going to take up a lot of cycles.
Yeah, totally.
It's so unnecessary. You really got to think about that kind of stuff, and
not in comparison to. Displacement, though. Displacement's ridiculous.
Oh, that'll make it crazy. But you also have to think about stuff like reflection. I know that in the new reflectance layers, there's something called...
it's the blurriness subdivision, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Man. That is...
Yeah, that's another thing.
That gets hairy
make sure
quickly.
that your subdivisions are down, as much as you can possibly. I know in V-Ray specifically with the shadows and stuff like that, whenever you're doing subdivisions, you got to make sure that the subdivisions are within a certain parameter that you can actually handle, that you have time, that your time will allow in order to allow the high enough subdivisions to actually, good versus quick.
And don't jack those things up quickly until do it like one tick at a time. Because, Cinema 4D doesn't have like an oh crap button where you can just like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that setting. And then your computer just crashes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need that button, though.
Yeah, they do.
Like when you try and play something in the viewport that's too complicated and it just freaks out.
Oh, man. Yeah, and everyone says, oh, just hit escape a bunch of times. That never works for me.
Sometimes it works for me, but not all the time. Like, they do need like a...
Hey, let me ask you this. Speaking of weird things going wrong on your renders and stuff, when you close down Cinema 4D after using Octane, does your computer just like freeze up for like a minute straight?
No.
Man, mine does. My PC, like as soon as I shut down Cinema, the whole thing freezes for like 60 seconds. It's like it's got to catch up the GPU or something like that, and then I'm fine.
That's weird because we have like almost an identical system.
No, that's my one at work.
Oh.
My PC at work.
PC.
Oh, that's a PC.
Indeed.
So.
Well, I don't know, man. It's not an SSD at work.
No, it is an SSD.
It is an SSD. I have noticed that sometimes now that I have this SSD installed, that it does tend to, every once in a while, just kind of, everything freezes for a second, and then all of a sudden it catches up like 2 seconds later.
Weird.
It's very, very rare, but it seems to me
I haven't done enough work on my home system yet, to actually really test it out.
Yeah.
So I did clean my office though.
That's good. It's a good start.
Yeah.
Man, there's nothing like having a clean office. I'm telling you, man, like I don't know about you, but like clutter really bugs me.
Dude, seriously. I spent all day cleaning my office, and then my kid comes up here and like just wrecks the thing in like an hour.
My daughter was up here playing video games all day. All the toys end up upstairs. But the thing is, like, I'm not a clean person in general. Like I will let things get dirty. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like a neat freak in that aspect. But at least in my workspace, like things don't even have to be like perfect. There's a lot of stuff in my office, but as long as it's in the right place and I don't have a lot of cables everywhere and I kind of just tidy it up, neaten everything up, vacuum, light a candle. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I just have to be comfortable. I got to get the clutter out. Got to take out the trash,
Yeah, like my office at work, that's the only place that I keep clean. My bedroom at home, my living room at home, it's all just a mess. I'm terrible about cleaning, but my office at work, that is clean. It starts off the day clean, I end it with the day clean.
Nice.
It's just gotta keep that feng shui going.
That's how I feel about this, man. I got everything in its right place, as Radiohead says. But even the rest of my house isn't necessarily ever that clean. You know, it gets maybe once or twice a week deep cleaning, but like the office got to be clean before I can work.
Yeah. Oh, I added a 32-inch monitor. I hooked up my TV, so now I'm up to 2 monitors. And I figured I did enough research, so I couldn't get my iMac working with my stuff. Apparently, on the new iMacs, they have to be Thunderbolt to Thunderbolt, which is so dumb. It has to be Thunderbolt to Thunderbolt. So because these NVIDIA cards don't have Thunderbolt on them, I can't use it at all. So basically, this is a useless iMac.
There's no converter box you could certainly there's a converter box.
I don't know.
Like something that goes like DisplayPort to Thunderbolt, because then the computer at that point thinks it's Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So not like an adapter, but like an actual converter box.
I mean, honestly, if I'm just going to spend the money on an adapter, why don't I just buy another monitor?
Depends on the price. But here's the other thing, man. I was going to mention this last week. These monitors, these old cinema displays, dude, Craigslist. I mean,
that's all we use at work, and I hate them.
You hate
them.
Cinema displays?
Oh my! I don't know if it's the cinema displays. It's the old like plasma ones, the ones that get real bad burn in.
They do get bad burn in, man. But $150 on Craigslist right now for 23-inch, and that's why I have 3 of them now. Like $150. I bought it as a spare, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna hook it up.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like they don't feel as crisp as my Samsung at home. My Samsung, oh man, I love this thing.
I think some of it too is because they don't have that gloss finish that they give the richness that a lot of the Macs have now.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I like the new displays. The new displays are great.
Yeah.
But the old ones, nah.
They're definitely whiter.
Yes, that's
I'm
sure.
not racist, but the old ones tend to yellow for sure. And you can't I've tried to do color correction stuff on it. It just doesn't.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on color correction on those things.
Yeah, it's not
so
not good.
Just trying to do color correction at work, it's awful because I'll be working on one side. I've got 2 monitors at work, and so I'm trying to match up the color on these wallpapers and stuff. So I'm looking at Photoshop on one screen, and I've got the thing on another screen, and then I realize that as I'm trying to match these colors up, that both my monitors are completely different.
Yeah, and the problem with that, especially these monitors, is that they're just so yellow. Like it's the color of the tube. The colored tube in the back. Like even if you compensate, like it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do.
They're awful. I'm not a fan.
Man, I love
for $150, dude. That's how much my Samsung one cost, and it's killer.
Really?
But I'm telling you, yeah, I would love to get my iMac working. It's just those screens are so nice. But I mean, and this iMac is just such a piece of crap.
Well,
I bought it 2 years ago. My wife has a school thing that because she's a teacher, and they can buy a laptop or an iMac or a PC Mac laptop through her school, and they take it out $50 a month. There's okay, that's cool. I get a computer right then, and they take it out. Well, so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, I'll buy this iMac and I'll upgrade it, and get some good stuff. Come to find out, as soon as I get it, that the RAM is soldered in there, and so it's like, I can't upgrade this at all. So literally, it's the slowest machine I have in my house, and it's the newest. Well, except for no, it's true. Technically, I mean, it's newer than the one I just bought.
Yeah, the one you built, but
yeah,
you could get a is it a Samsung? I got to get the name of it, or maybe it's a Dell. Just bought a couple of those. They are 4K. And they're like $500, I think.
Oh, the screens, the TVs.
Yeah, that's it's a monitor. I mean, they're not. Well, they're kind of the same thing now. But the thing is, man, like nowadays, if you're gonna get a new monitor and you're gonna spend some money, like go to the 4K. Just do it. Just take that plunge.
I agree. 4K is nice. It's pretty.
It's nice, and it's really not that much more than the HD stuff now.
Did you watch House of Cards in 4K?
I didn't have 4K until after I watched it.
Okay. But you did finish the series, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay. I was just curious because I know Netflix is streaming, 4K material now. I didn't know if you've checked any of that out. You should.
I tried, and from what I hear is my smart TV is not yet compatible with Netflix on the smart TV.
Oh, interesting.
So, maybe I could do it, but I'd have to have a Netflix 4K device and then hook it into the TV. But I'm not that worried about it right now, honestly. I get on YouTube and I watch 4K stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, another V-Ray, the new one. It's got stuff for Oculus as well. Not sure if you saw that.
Oh yeah, Octane has that too.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah. And now, does the new V-Ray have cubic projection as well as spherical projection?
I don't know. Let's see.
Because your camera outputs on Octane, you have spherical projection.
Support for 6x1 cubic stereo VR cameras for Oculus Rift use, PE, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Wait, but only cubic? It doesn't have spherical? Stereo spherical?
New spherical panorama stereo camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's got cubic and stereo and spherical.
Because that's the thing, right? If you really want to have some nice looking stereo spherical projection, you are going to use Oculus Rift, and you're going to use it on a nice computer with a nice video card, and you're going to do spherical projection because it's just going to look more realistic that way. But there's also the option to do cubic projection, because think about if you were making a sky out of a sphere, how many faces that would be. It'd be a lot of faces.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a sky out of a cube, it's only going to be 6 sides. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you would use the cubic version is because the Samsung VR.
Yeah.
Because they don't...
I've used it. I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, I did like it.
It's fast.
Well, I mean, it. Yeah, I mean, I used it. I was working for a company that was. We got in all their stuff because we were doing a lot of the videos before the launches, before anyone even knew anything about them. So we knew about the VR ahead of time, and we got to try it out with the Note 4. This was before the Note 4 was announced, and I really liked it. The Note 4 screen was just killer. Man, it was so nice. But the only Oculus that I had ever used was your first gen one. I still haven't tried the second gen one, so I don't know how good of a screen that is.
Oh, the screen's much better, and the one that's going to come out is going to be even better. It's going to be HD, 1 HD per eye, basically.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So I guess that's technically 2K, but the thing about it is, those phones have not the greatest graphics cards in the world, right? So
yeah, it was I found it to be a bit laggy sometimes, or sometimes it would just freeze up altogether, but that was we're using stuff that isn't even out for the public yet, so we always expected it to be that way.
But the thing is, it's not going to handle spherical projection well because there's too many faces.
Yeah, probably not.
And so cubic is what everybody's going to do for the mobile VR stuff, which honestly, let's be completely honest about it. I'll probably get the new Oculus Rift and make some cool stuff on it, but your average person is not going to build a system and have these decked out video cards in them. So if VR really is going to go mainstream, it's going to be mobile.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
It's going to be a generic headset that's going to end up cornering the market, where you could put an iPhone in there, you could put whatever you want in there, and there's going to be somebody's app, which is Oculus Rift. They should be thinking about software. They should be developing the app that will play these things, as well as the technology, because for the...
it's Facebook.
Well...
Because Facebook owns Oculus, they got all the apps.
Yeah. Well,
you can Farmville on Oculus Rift.
Well, I mean, if it does go mainstream, you can see what this is going to do to real estate VR and
yeah, totally,
games and stuff like that. But it's got to be fast. It's got to be where it doesn't make people sick, or it's going to get a bad reputation.
Yeah. Oh man, I get so sick on those.
And I'm telling you, man, you got to try this one because there are some games that still have that lag, and there are some that are so smooth. It's like butter. Like, you do not get sick because it is so fast.
Yeah. I love the space game, you know?
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah,
that one's good. And the one that's super fast for me is the moon base one, where you're driving around.
I've played that one.
It is so immersive.
Have you played the where you're in South Park?
Yeah, I tried that one.
That was pretty funny.
Now, here's my dilemma right now. It's like I'm having trouble with my direct to Rift stuff because it's doing screen mirroring for most of the games, and their new version is all direct to Rift now. And I'm scared that what's going to happen is that when I update it, it's not going to work right. And not only that, but all the old games that were doing basically extended desktop are not going to work anymore. Because that's how the Rift works. You can either like send the game straight to the Rift, or you could set it up where it's like a second monitor or third monitor, and it's mirroring that.
Yeah.
And that's when you get that horrible lag. So, like, on one hand, I'm excited to move to it because it's going to be fast. But on the other hand, it's like, I have some cool little games and stuff that were free. And, it's the same problem that happened with Oculus One, DK1 to DK2, is that all the old stuff doesn't work anymore because these are, some dude in his garage who just made this app and he's not going to update it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know when you were telling me that some of these things won't play. That's kind of ridiculous, because it's the whole reason you want to buy one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the thing is, it'll be standardized once it goes mainstream. Man, I have got to change the inputs on my monitor over here because it's a security camera and there's this bug crawling on it and it's really gross. I just see a giant bug in the corner of my eye.
One time I was at a Taco Bueno, and we're waiting for our food, and I look up at the security camera, and there's a giant grasshopper just like on the camera. So all you see is this giant grasshopper. Made me feel real safe about eating there.
Yeah, it's like hanging out, and I just see antennas like moving around, and it's gross. Can't concentrate. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff from Reddit.
Okay. Actually, hey, let's go back to plugins real quick.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We were talking about plugins, and making stuff faster. A plugin that I found just recently that I really like, it's called Carbon Scatter.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So Carbon Scatter, basically what it is, it allows you to take, if you're creating like a 3D environment and you need to add a bunch of trees or like foliage or something like that, basically you can click on a certain set of elements that you want to use and basically paint on the individual elements, like whole forests of them as well. And you can set the density and how much flow you want the paint to go on, and it paints these fully 3D models. And what's great about it is it does instances of them.
Yeah.
So you've got 3,000 trees and stuff like that, and they're all just an instance of one. It's fantastic.
And the name of that company is...
I don't know what the name of the company, but the plugin is Carbon Scatter.
It's a 3-letter word, like it's not
it's like
Daz or
EIO or something like that.
Eon or something.
Eon, yeah, that's what I think it is. I've been getting crazy emails from them. They won't leave me alone. Eon.
They have a good personal learning edition of that too that you can sign up for and get up to 720p output. I think.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
But the funny thing about that is, like, I was thinking about checking out that plugin when you told me about it, and then I was also thinking about checking out this plugin called Ozone, and turns out that they are the same company.
Yeah. I think I heard of Ozone. What exactly does Ozone do?
Ozone does some amazing clouds, and I believe it works with V-Ray. Cool. It has V-Ray materials. It doesn't have Octane, but you can always do them separate and composite them later. But
yeah, see what I was doing, I was working in Octane with this, and then I would paint on the stuff that I needed, and then I would just convert the materials to Octane materials, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, but the way that this plugin doesn't works, it wouldn't work with Octane in that way. unfortunately. Like, you can't convert the materials. I tried it. It doesn't work.
That's a shame.
But it looks so good. Like, I didn't even know about the plugin yet at the time, but, you know, my daughter was watching How to Train Your Dragon. And that's the nice part about having kids and being like a 3D person, is that they watch a lot of these movies. And if you don't like the movie in particular, you can at least sit there and like critique the...
dude, I've been watching so much Sesame Street lately. And
Really?
I am just like, yes. Oh man, my kid is so like Elmo crazy, you know? And so like, I'll be watching some of the old episodes, and I'm like, oh, that is so terrible. Look at that awful use of 3D, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to redo this one and send it to him and say, here, use this one from now on.
Yeah, I know. It's here's the thing, is that there's some really good stuff and really bad stuff, especially on Netflix. Like some fly-by-night company who lucked out and made some crappy animation and got it onto Netflix, and somehow they're making money. But she was watching How to
Ice Princess or something. It's not Frozen.
Yeah.
It's like Ice Princess.
But some of them are really great, like the Tinkerbell series, different movies that have come out, and How to Train Your Dragon 2 she was watching the other night.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
But
I liked How to Train. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if... I mean, do you remember seeing the clouds, like when he's flying through the clouds?
No, I don't remember being blown away by it, but I do remember being blown away by how well the animation looked.
Right.
But I don't specifically remember the cloud scenes.
I remember seeing those clouds and be like, man, that's just incredible looking. And then a couple weeks later, when I was looking into Ozone, you know, I was looking at their demo. And sure enough, it's Ozone and How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah. I like the... I mean, I'm looking at some of these images from Ozone's site. Oh, yeah. How to Train Your Dragon right there. Yeah, that looks good. That looks real good.
Really good, man. And they've got a lot of options. You can always composite them separately. And I was watching somebody's presentation at Seagraph, and they were actually talking about that. Forget the guy's name, but he was showing a jet airliner coming into New York City. I think they were doing visualizations of 9/11 or something.
Oh, nice.
And he was showing the different layers, and he did say that they used Ozone and they composited it separately.
Ozone can't melt steel beams. Yeah, let's see. Ozone Cloud Factory, is that what it is? Yeah, that one, and Carbon Scatter, they're only like $300. It's pretty good. Works with, and I think, this is a cool thing that I loved about it, was you buy the plugin and it works with 3ds Max, Cinema 4D, Lightwave, Maya, and Softimage. Yeah. You know, all 5 of them. You don't have to buy separate ones for each one. It's way cool.
That's the thing, man. I think people who come out with software and plugins and stuff like that are kind of universal in that way. We were talking about that recently. It's like, is that worth more money? Or for some people, it's not. So because they're not going to use the other versions, you know. But I mean, for me, it seems like, well, it's always nice to have it just in case.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and I didn't even realize it until I was installing a trial of Maya or something, and it asked me if I wanted to, you know, install that plugin as well. I was like, heck yeah, let's try it.
Yeah.
I don't know, cool stuff. I really like Carbon Scatter, and it was so easy, and it comes with 100 different trees and plants and stuff like that, and you can edit those plants as well. To make them, you know, different. So you're not just painting the exact same one. It also comes with billboards and just images that are always camera facing, you know? So it saves you because it's just one plane, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And, you know, along that line, too, I was going to say instancing. Man, instancing is just going to save you when it comes to time, when it comes to render time, when it comes to viewport time, when it comes to just everything. Like, if you're not using instancing, do it. Like, I can't even describe to you how much faster it makes everything.
Yeah, totally. You know, I when you had told me about that, like a few months ago, I went through the exact same scene, actually, the one that I used with Carbon Scatter, or no, it was a different scene. It was right before I was using Carbon Scatter. And I had like 4 million polys in one scene. And so I went through and I instanced, because I had a couple of trees in there. I went through and I instanced all my stuff, and I was able to bring it down to like 750,000 polys, less than 1 million. And man, that brought down that it cut my render time in like half. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the sweet spot on anything really in Cinema 4D tends to be about 1 million polys. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go over. I mean, you're working with 2 million. It's not really going to be that bad. And I've worked with, up, 10, 20 million at times because I had to. Sometimes you don't have a choice. But I will say that, like, if whatever you're working on can stick around the 1 million mark in somewhere with, give or take 1 million, well, really give 1 million, you're gonna have a good time. So, just another piece of advice there.
Yeah, and it's something. I mean, you don't hear a lot of people talking about that. It's something when you're learning. I never did instances. I always just made copies of these same stuff. But your machine will run so much faster when you do it too.
Mm-hmm.
The other big thing that you talked about, watched in one of your tutorials, was the rendering instances of instances or whatever.
Yo, dog.
Yeah.
Heard you like instances.
Because you can't actually do that in Octane, so you have to figure out which one has the most polys, or will save you the most polys.
You can't,
correct?
But you can. Now, here's the weird thing about it, right? Like, if you do an instance and then you do an instance of an instance, it'll work, but you just can't you can't checkbox render instances on the second one. You know what I mean?
I think so.
So, like, let's say that you have, I don't know, let's say with what I was working on recently, let's say you have 10 bottles in a box and you put it in the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got 2 different kinds of boxes. So you've instanced the box somehow and you've instanced the bottles, but then you have to take that and group it like 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to instance those. Now, you can't check render instances on those versions, because what's going to happen is they're just not going to show up, like, at all. Those new versions aren't going to show up. However,
are they going to fix that in version 3?
No, I think it's kind of an engine limitation.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing: in the tests that I have run, it seems to me that if you do render instances and then you do instances of those and you don't check the box, that it still keeps the poly count down somehow.
Interesting.
So you're fine. But the one thing
one thing about using carbon scatter that I noticed, with the whole instance stuff, you'll hit like send your image or whatever, your scene, and it'll show up. But as soon as you move your camera, it actually disappears. All the instances of it disappear. It's the only downfall I found with using carbon scatter with Octane. Anyway,
yeah,
go
I'm
ahead.
going to have to play with that and see. Well, I talked about it on the instancing tutorial I did, but it's really that you have to figure out what's more worth it to put your render instances on. You have to be really strategic about how you set up these nulls and what you put in them and why. Because like if you want to do those bottles and you want to do those boxes separately, like it might be better like if you did do render instances on the bottles, but then like you didn't do them on the boxes or something, and then you have to get creative and you got to figure out what has the most polys in it, and that's where you check on render instances.
Yeah.
Because if you have a 10 million poly wreath like I did in the tutorial and you multiply that by 2, then you turn on render instances on the 10 million polys, because obviously you don't want to double that.
Right.
So that'd be a good one to check out if you haven't done that before. It's amazing what it will do. And even when it comes down to small things, when you're building small scenes and it has a lot of repetitive stuff in it, make sure that's on. If you're using MoGraph clones, make sure that you check that render instances box.
Totally.
So that was who was that? Lazarus in
I don't know.
Reddit.
I clicked off of it.
And Cripple Hank says, at the moment, I would be most interested in hearing about the industry and how it works. I personally don't have many contacts in the same field as I am, and would be interested in hearing how other artists have come to be where they are now. And then it might also be cool to talk, talk guests as to how specific effects were done. Oh, like a title sequence or a new show or movie that came out. Now, I'll start with that about specific effects. Now, my original idea for Brograph Breakdowns was actually not to do my own stuff, but was to actually look at other things, like take a scene from Toy Story or something and like break
down how they did it.
Yeah, and say like, look at the specular on this and look at the bump, and do that kind of thing. And I still plan on doing that because I don't do enough cool projects. I mean, I got to pay the bills, right? And, you got to do projects that are repetitive or they're not anything super interesting or whatever. And it's not that often that I come across something that I really want to dig down into and feature. So I really want to do that and just take other pieces of things. I think Nick Campbell did that. He tried to start like a video podcast. Gosh, what was it called?
No idea. I didn't even know about those.
It was him and two other guys, and I forget what they called it. And there's two other animator guys just from somewhere, and they would do like how iChat would do like the multi-video chat back in the day. Mm-hmm. They would just do that, and they would record it, and they would break stuff down and like guess at it and stuff. And that was just part of their I don't know, whatever their series was, whatever their video podcast was. And I really liked that. And they did it like once or twice and they stopped doing it. And I was like, man, I really wanted a podcast about that or a video show about that or something. Because I see stuff on TV like that all the time and I just want to go frame by frame and figure out how it was done. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the breakdowns that you've been doing. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe we should do some more of that. That
was really involved. It took a lot of time to do. It took me way longer than I thought. And with that and the rebranding, like it took my entire week, like to do all of that. Like I didn't get to my next tutorial that I was going to do last week or anything because of it.
That you were going to do the week before too,
right? Well, first
I'm the one giving you crap about not doing tutorials, and I'm the one who like took a year off from doing them.
Right.
It's all right. I was between jobs.
Well, I was finishing the project, and then I was doing the video about how I finished the project. So now, like this week, definitely I can get down to business on some other stuff. So the other question, at the moment, I'd be most interested in hearing about the industry, how it works, and the contacts in the field, and where other artists came from. What do you think about that?
I don't know. Well, first off, okay, did you see, there was a post the other day that talked about, how do you get into the industry? How, what's the best way to make connections and stuff? It's kind of for someone who's just starting out.
Yeah. There were two of them that I bookmarked that I want to circle back around to on another episode. Yeah,
did you see the guy who said, I have an opportunity for a job or something, and he was offering up $10 per render of these like bottles or something like that.
Yeah.
It's this. So man, people were ripping into him, and talking about how basically, $10 is worthless, blah blah blah. And I understood where they were coming from, but I also understood like there's also a lot of newbies on the subreddit,
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people learning. So if a company is willing to, be okay with you taking your time or you knowing that it's a learning process,
mm-hmm.
And you're okay with the small amount of money that they were giving, you're a new guy, you're starting out. If you're going to complain about how much money they're offering, that's fine. Just don't take the job,
Right. There are some people that are making $0 that month.
Absolutely.
They'll take it.
Yeah. There are students who are just trying to fill up their reel. They're real.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, like the number one thing in my opinion that is going to get you a job in this industry is your reel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's all about your reel.
Not your resume, not your degree.
Doesn't matter what your degree in. I have a degree from the Art Institute. I have a degree in associate's degree in biology. At least that's what I was studying.
Nice.
And I've got 2 associate's degrees, and the number one thing that people look at is my reel.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And so getting your reel out there and creating a reel and making it look cool. And one of the biggest things about your reel that at least Dave and I have looked at whenever we're looking at people to hire, don't do your typical, I hate to say it because we're a tutorial site too, but don't do the typical tutorial site tutorials, make it different. Don't do the same stuff that Video Copilot did. Don't do the same stuff that, Grayscale Gorilla did. Do your own spin on it, And it doesn't all have to be MoGraph effects and stuff like that in order to look cool. And you can create some really cool scenes and stuff like that and just do a simple camera move,
And don't make it even recognizable that it was a tutorial. Like don't do the Cherry 7-Up tutorial by Nick Campbell and put that on your reel and then put your name in it or something instead. Because it's still going to be recognizable as you just did the Grayscale Gorilla tutorial.
Yeah. And that's the thing is as soon as we see that if you see a fly from space, hey, we've all done it.
We've all done it. And we all use it. Sometimes you have to do that.
Exactly. But I won't put that on my reel.
No.
If I know that I got, that I'm basically copying something that I saw from a tutorial, I will not put it on my reel.
Right.
I'll do something completely different. I'll use the same techniques to be able to show them off, Like maybe it's not a fly from space. Maybe it's a fly from like a close-up of your skin or something,
Right.
Or an atomic something, flying out to show a person. It's the same technique, but it's showing it in a completely different way, So that's showing that you know how to use it practically instead of actually using it just as the tutorial taught you to do.
Or it takes it to another level. Did you see the end of my video, the fly from space?
Yeah, totally.
But that was a little more complicated because you see the bottle go in the box and the box zooms out and it's in a guy's hand walking out of a liquor store with a drone.
Yes.
And then the drone pulls back from the liquor store, goes up over the liquor store and up into space, and then it flies out past the satellite, and then you see the Earth from outer space. Did I use the technique that I learned years and years and years ago from Video Copilot? Yes. Did it look anywhere the same? No, not at all. Way more complicated, trust me.
Yes. I mean, just using the drone. I remember when you sent that to me, when you were just testing it out, I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool. Oh, look at that Video Copilot effect. Oh, it still looks cool."
Right.
So, but I mean, a lot of that stuff I won't use on my reel, I'll
for sure.
I will try and keep that stuff off, and do the if you want to create just a really quick reel. And here's something. It does not have to be stuff that was actually used. I used to do a lot of video work, and it was actually shooting and editing before I was even doing 3D. It was shooting and editing actors' demo reels. And the biggest thing is some of these up and coming actors, they didn't have a demo reel. They didn't have anything that they had even been on. They just wanted to be hosts. Mm-hmm. So we would go around and we would set up these, scenes, these fake scenes where they're interviewing people about stuff that just random stuff. And I edit it together, put a nice music bed underneath and get it fast and going quick, quick cuts to the beat.
Yeah.
And so, they would get gigs from this stuff. You don't have to have stuff that you're using for broadcast or online or something like that. You can take a FedEx logo or something like that and make it spin, make it look cool, add something neat to it, add some flair, add your own individuality to it. Take the McDonald's logo. It doesn't have to actually have run from McDonald's. I mean, that's my opinion. Okay.
Here's my feeling about spec work like that.
If you're going to do that, it has to look good. If you're going to do it, it has to look good. In my opinion.
Here's the thing. Here's why I tell people not to do that.
All right.
But I tell them to do something similar. But here's why I tell them not to do that. Because if you put McDonald's or Coke on your reel, they're gonna be like, you're gonna be sitting in an interview, and somebody's like, "Oh, dang, you did the logo for McDonald's." And you'd be like,
then you say, hell yeah, I did.
No, you don't.
I totally modeled that. I totally modeled
What commercial was that for? Who was that? No, you don't want to be stuck in that awkward situation. And here's my suggestion in that case. Do the spec, thing. But don't do it for a major brand. Do it for Joe's Corner Pool Shop or something.
I disagree. We'll agree to disagree on this, but I think if you're going to do it for the big brand, you know. But if you're going to try and sell yourself, if you go into an interview and they say, "Oh, what commercial was that for?" Oh, you just say, "Oh, it was for a project that I did, you know, just for fun." Or something. Don't lie.
Yeah, or you could say it was like for an internal video they did if you really wanted to.
Yeah, totally. I've done tons of stuff for Dr. Pepper that is internal videos that, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Well, the thing, what was I going to say?
Really? Okay, so here's another thing I want to say about the reel. Mm-hmm. So make your reel, make it look good, quick cuts to the beat. You know, don't use the typical tutorial stuff. Hit up LinkedIn. Make sure you have a LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a super cool. I really like LinkedIn, and I get at least a phone call every month or two, or at least 1 to 2 phone calls a month. You know, being like, "Hey, we found your resume on LinkedIn. Are you interested in this job?" Sure, I'll listen to you, hear what you have to say. You know. Mm-hmm. I mean, most of the time it won't come through, but for those people who are just starting out, you know, heck, get on LinkedIn. You know, get on LinkedIn, put your reel up there. People are going to see. Join some of these clubs, some of these groups on LinkedIn, like the Cinema 4D or the I'm a part of the After Effects club. You know.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. If somebody does come out there with something like, "Oh, I'll do these. I need these bottles done at like $10 a bottle or whatever," right? Mm-hmm. If you like, send them something anyway. And here's my confession. I sent that guy something.
You did?
Yeah. Now, I got to admit, I read too quickly, and I didn't read his $10 a model thing until I had already sent him the email. But I kind of have a generic emergency kind of form email type thing that I'll send, and if something comes across my desk or on the internet or LinkedIn or you know, Reddit or email or the Producers Association list or something, and somebody says, "Oh, I need someone that can do graphics because we have this thing going on," blah 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 blah. Or even if a friend comes to me and says, "Hey, look, I know somebody who's looking for something to be done. Here's their contact info," for a like generic, just quick send out an email. "Hey, I do this kind of thing. Contact me, hit me up. Here's a link to my reel. Here's my rate. Let me know if you're interested." Like, I have a generic thing saved that I can just shoot it at them, right? Mm-hmm. So anytime that comes up, I don't even really pay much attention. I just shoot them the info. So that's what I did to this dude, right? And I think what you might be surprised about is like what this guy said to me, because I sent him another message that said, "Oh, I did not see that $10 an hour thing till just, or $10 per model thing till just now. Definitely not my rate. But if you are still interested, you know, look at this reel. If you're still interested, you know, let's see if we can work something out." And some people who they were trying to go on the cheap and get the price down, they might see your work and say, "Oh, well, how much is this? Because this looks really good." Yeah, you know, and that's what he did.
Yeah, actually, we did that one. We had a gig one time where we were modeling. We were doing just really crappy After Effects stuff of, like, you know, how different tubing and whatever worked. You know, and so then, but then they saw what we could really do, and we ended up modeling a couple of like really nice models of some of their equipment, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that was like, you know, 10 times what they were paying for the other stuff.
And they were really happy with that.
I mean, that stuff ended up looking good.
And I had this guy almost on the fence about paying, you know, full rate for this. I said, "Look, if we had a system down and you had 3 models and we were just throwing these textures on, boom, 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 you could pay X amount of dollars for these and they would look really good. And here's a bunch of demo work. You know what it's going to look like." And he ended up going with someone else. And I'm sure it's because of price.
Yeah.
You know,
which is fine.
Still, I had him on the fence, and you never know how that's going to go.
Yeah. Instead of just attacking the guy and being like, "No, how dare you come here, rabble, 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 rabble."
Right. Now, I didn't even tell you about this. I did have a woman call me yesterday actually.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it's important to get your rate out the open right away. Because it was a friend of a friend who was working on a production thing, and they had like have these engineering files and need somebody to render this stuff out really nice, and I get a lot of this. Somebody builds something in like SolidWorks or Vectorworks or one of those more engineering programs, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they don't have like the beautification setting. Like if you want it to look good, you've got to bring it into a program like Cinema 4D, use Octane. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what?
So this is funny. If you want to make it look good, you got to bring it into Cinema 4D and use Octane.
Well, use Octane. Yeah, I'm a big Octane guy. Now, the thing about it is, like, first of all, the engineering files, getting them converted was going to be an issue, and I was going to have to talk to their engineers, get them to export me the right thing, make sure that...
What were they, DWGs or something?
Well, the DWGs were 2D. Which they usually are, which sucks. And then it was step files. And I've had a lot of people come to me with step files recently, and usually I can get them to convert them to OBJ, but then the OBJ doesn't have smoothing
I've heard that step files are actually really good. That's what my company asks for whenever we're doing stuff for people.
How do you convert it?
We've got some converter. I don't know what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But we've got some converter that converts step files like perfectly.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me what that is, because I've gotten a few of those recently.
Yeah.
And it's something. It's for one of them's for something that we're working on right now, like you and me. And
okay.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Because what happens is they'll convert them to OBJ, and most of these programs don't have the option to export the smoothing groups or whatever it is. That's like what Max would have. Mm-hmm. So you get it, and it's all like kind of segmented looking, and there's no good way to fix that unless you luck out and can turn on whatchamacallit, not HyperNerbs, that's Max, the smoothing
subdivision surface.
Yeah, and that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, depending on your model. But so anyway, back to the story. Is that we went through all that rigmarole about how that was going to happen, and then she wanted me to take the stuff and retexture it and make all these machines look good, and then we were going to build this tent over it, right? And the tent on top of it was going to have to be made from scratch based on pictures they found on the internet, and it was going to be this huge ordeal. And I'm thinking, okay, this can take me like 3 days. Like this is a pretty complicated process, and plus the rendering and make it the whole deal. And then she's like, well, and right now our budget's maybe, I don't know, about $200. And I'm like, we just went through this whole rigmarole. Really nice though. But the thing is, in that situation, like, I was nice about it. I said, look, I got to tell you, like, okay, maybe we don't do the tent thing, and maybe we do all this other stuff, and we could get the price down, but it's still not going to be $200. But it's going to be a lot lower, maybe 1 day's worth of work at least. And even so, she's going to find out, and it sounds to me like it may not pan out. If it does, if she can get them to give her more budget, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And I'll...
Yeah, definitely don't burn a bridge, like, right off the bat.
That's the thing.
Don't laugh in their face and, like, be like, oh, no way, you can't afford me.
Right, and that's the thing, because, like, I don't want to be just like, I don't work for that amount of money, because if I really needed the money, I would do it. But it's like I have other projects going on. I got people paying full rate right now. There's no reason that I would want to do that. I mean, I got to get their stuff done, and honestly, I just don't have time to do a 3-day project for $200. I just can't.
Totally.
But I don't want to burn the bridge, because, I mean, even she said there's more money in other projects that they do. It's just
always money in the banana stand.
Yeah, that's true. There's budgets. People work with budgets, and sometimes you can be a multi-million-dollar corporation and you do only have $200 for this project. Mm-hmm. It's not...
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of companies will have a month-to-month, budget towards stuff. Even these big companies. I've worked for companies like Dr. Pepper where, they've only got so much per month that they can put away, And so another project comes up and they've got a very small budget. Well, who knows what's going to happen next month? Next month they may have nothing, and then they're like, okay, well, let's just roll it over to next month. Then here's $10,000 for your project.
And that's the other thing too, is a lot of these companies have to use their budget, or else they don't get that money the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And and it will even go like a month to month thing. So they'll spend $10,000 or $9,000 out of their $10,000 and can only pay you $1,000 that month. But the next month rolls around, and you might have done them a favor, or somebody, and you whatever it is, you don't laugh in their face. You say, okay, well, here's what I can do, and here's some other stuff we can do. I talked to that woman about Oculus Rift stuff. She's interested in it. Cool. I don't know if it's something they can do, but I still want to put it out there because, the next month rolls around, they got their $10,000 budget. They have to spend the money, and they're going to be like, you know what? Let's go do this thing.
For sure.
You never know.
For sure. Yeah.
So, other artists, how they've come to be where they are, and where they're going, other artists I don't know. For me personally, the interesting thing is hindsight's always 2020, and there's the uncertainty that's always ahead of you. Like, where am I going to end up in 20 years? Like, I think about that all the time. 20 years from now, like the technology, what's going to go on in my life, where I'm going to be living, the whole deal, like that's a long time. I think back on 10 years ago, and it was such a different world for me, and everything about me was different. And I think, I can look back on that 10 years ago, and I can say, I know every little stepping stone of what happened from this place to this place to this thing to this computer to this computer to this piece of software that got me right here where I am now, right?
And in 2009, I got my Mac that I'm still using today.
In 2009, I got my Mac Pro that I'm recording on right now and doing all my stuff on. It's a great computer. I never thought when I got it that it would be this crazy, like, decked out Octane monster at some point, but
yeah, seriously, I never thought I'd have a computer nice enough to actually run 4K Steam games.
But the thing
even
is,
though I still haven't done that.
You need to.
I know.
PC Master Race, but
dude, I need a copy of Windows first.
Here's the thing though, like 20 years from now, I don't know where I'm going to be. It's crazy to think that I'll be able to look back.
Brograph Inc. is where we're going to be.
Yeah. But it's crazy to think in 20 years, I'll be looking back and seeing how the dots connected perfectly to get me to where I am in 20 years. And looking back, like, as far as like, how did you get where you are now? What I'll say is, long story short, I went to college in 99. I started college in like late 99, and I went in for an associate's degree, right? And I think even less than a year in, I was offered a job randomly. That was a pretty good deal. The only thing is I had to move. And I was
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was studying video. I was not a graphics guy. I knew Photoshop and stuff. I was working in like Photoshop 3 or something back in like 96.
Nice.
On, those Apple beige boxes and like Quadras. I had done some Avid stuff too on Quadras, and
OS 9 forever.
Right. And that was like, my direction was some sort of video, and I didn't know what it was going to be. And I ended up doing live graphics for concert tours for the next 10 years. I ended up doing video stuff. I did video directing.
And you're still doing some of that.
Still do some of that from time to time. I directed for George Strait for a few years. But during that time, I was like learning other stuff. Like I was learning Apple Motion and all this other stuff. And in college, I had dabbled in 3D. I had dabbled in 3D in high school, like using Infinity software and Poser 2.
That's funny.
And what was the other one? Daz 3D and
my first
3D
experience
Max.
with 3D was actually Lightwave, and I was doing I had already been out of college, and it was like some kids tutorial site, you know.
Don't you hate that?
It's funny, you know, because I learned Flash through it, and I learned, you know, how to just do very basic Lightwave stuff, and it's like it was pretty funny that like I was going to this website for kids to learn how to do this stuff.
Do they have Minecraft stuff on there?
No, man, this was like 2005 or 2006. So, but yeah, actually, I didn't even get into my degree was in video production. So I thought I was going to be a shooter and editor my whole life.
Right.
You know, because I was doing that in high school. I didn't touch 3D until probably like 4 years ago.
See, we have the exact same story. You know, but we do have that background in how to compose a shot, how to light things, you know, the whole, everything that you need to know, because to do 3D, you have to know how to be a video guy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that start in 3D and they've never done any of this before, and they start using cinema, and you're like, oh, their stuff looks awful. And then you realize it's because they have no production background. It really helps big time.
Yeah, for sure. You know, image composition, color, balance, you know, all your basic design principles are really going to help you create a pretty picture.
Unity through obscurity.
All right.
But you know, that's the thing about like I think this probably applies to most artists, is that like not everybody like us didn't expect to get where we are now, but their path was kind of like twisting and turning in a way where like most people don't set out to do one specific thing and then end up doing it exactly that way.
Yeah. And in this, at least I believe in this career field, or this field, you have to know as much as possible. You know, when I graduated from college at the Art Institute, you know, I didn't know any 3D, but I went back to school and I learned HTML. I wanted to go into programming as well. So I learned some CSS, or no, CSS was with the HTML stuff. I learned some C++. Then I wanted to be a doctor. And I did like 2 years of biology and stuff. And man, I have so much useless knowledge about biology that I love, you know? But I had actually gotten a job doing After Effects and editing and stuff before I even went back to school for like 1 semester learning Maya. And the skills that I learned doing Maya, it was just like basic modeling, I brought over to my job and was able to use those skills to in Cinema 4D.
Right.
Dave knows, he was there.
Yeah, I was there. And the thing about it too is that, you know, you may not have any formal training in design or 3D or whatever, and the internet, man, it's all about learning on the internet in this field, because and again, it comes back around to the real thing.
That's absolutely why we're doing it too. You know, I have had so many good tutorials out there that have just gotten me to the point that I'm at, you know, that I just want to give back. Exactly.
Karma.
You know, and one day make some money from it, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully someday. But it's kind of karma-ish in a way. We want to give back. We want to share knowledge. We want to talk to people. We want to just be immersed in it.
Yeah, totally.
And
it's funny, like at my job, we take these stupid pictures of like, oh, what do you do in your free time? Blah blah blah, you know, and like. So, like, my picture was literally me holding a video camera with 3D glasses on and popcorn and stuff, because I like movies. I like movies. I like watching movies. I like making movies. I like, you know, doing editing. It's funny, in my free time, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
It's 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, and you and I are here doing a podcast about this. I mean,
yeah. People ask me the same thing. I'm like, maybe I go mountain biking or something every now and then. But really, like, if I'm bored, sometimes I'll turn on video games and I'll start playing with it, a video game, and like I'll be like, man, that looks really cool, and I'll start thinking about 3D or a video game that lets you build something, and I'm like, oh, this is man, I just want to build something in cinema now, and I'll just go to cinema. It's totally nerdy, but like to be in the industry and love it so much that you just want to go home and then do the same exact thing that you just did for 12 hours for like the next 5 hours because you enjoy it that much.
Yeah, people saying, find something that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Right. This is absolutely it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, anyway, that's enough of our soapbox.
Right.
Okay, one other thing I wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. So this is one thing that I want to ask you because we get this question all the time. Like, it doesn't matter how many times we post a tutorial, a lot of people won't go through the rest of our tutorials to see if we actually did it. Okay, so the MacBook Pro, hooking it up, right? Hooking up the graphics cards, that's fine.
Wait, the Mac Pro.
The Mac Pro, sorry. Yeah. The Mac Pro, hooking it up, getting the graphics cards in there, you've gone through the breakdown. We talked about it on the last podcast, but what if someone has a question about whether their actual card will work? Because we've had a lot of people ask on like YouTube and stuff like that. Oh, I've got this card. Will this work with this or blah, 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 or how? And I wasn't sure which one, when I was talking to you, which card I should get, and you told me that when I was talking about maybe getting the Titan X or whatever, at work, you said, well, make sure that one works with it and blah, blah, blah. Where are we going to go?
Well,
where will we find that information?
I originally, when I started researching this stuff, I had to look online and I found other people who were saying that they did it one way or the other and it worked. There's a lot of forums where people are talking about doing mods on these Mac Pros and what they used. And it's like, okay, if so-and-so in this forum is saying he's using a 970 on his Mac Pro, then it's obviously doable. The one thing that you do have to check is whether or not it's doable out of the box or if it's something you have to go send up to get flashed. Like the 760, the 970, and the 980 Ti that I've put in these machines here, they all work right out of the box. Whereas like something like a Titan, or what are the higher end series, the something 5000, there's one Mac version of it, but the others aren't.
I don't know. I only know the Titan X and the Titan Z.
They're the crazy those crazy CUDA cards that they're the ones that are more expensive, but they're more expensive because of some sort of like error correction they have. Like, so they're more for like a scientific computer running like DNA.
Yeah,
something or other.
Like the K80
the
or something
the
like that.
K5000 and all those. Like, there's only one that works for Mac, and the other ones and the Titans and all that, you can...
Holy cow. K80 GPU, 24 gigabyte of DDR5 RAM.
Oh my gosh.
It's $5,000.
Yeah. Like those, if you really want to go that route, first of all, check and see, like, if you want to do that to run Octane,
but it's only got 5,000 CUDA cores.
That's the thing. That's exactly the thing. Don't spend $5,000, you get the same amount of cores. Now, of course, there are some advantages to having the more expensive card, but are they advantages that you're going to be taking advantage of?
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to check, you can. Google's going to show you everything, really. But if you really do want to go with the Titan, you can send it, and they'll flash the chip on it so that it will work.
What does that mean?
It's basically something about I forget what it's called. It's not the BIOS, but it's the main chip on it that will just make it compatible with Mac.
With Mac,
yeah. They can like flash the chip. Flashing the chip is like...
NVIDIA will actually do that?
No. I think it's a Canadian company or something. You can... Here's the thing, though. You spend
leave it to the Canadians.
$300 on the card, and then you got to spend another $300 ship that thing up to Canada, and somebody whose face is in two pieces. Those Canadians, they go, hey guy, hey buddy, and they flash the BIOS on it or whatever they do, and they send it back down to you. And
that was awful.
I'm not your buddy guy.
I was like, where's he going with this? Facing two faces? What?
Yeah, those Canadians, they're beady eyes.
That's funny.
And but they send that back down to you. Then you've spent $600, and it's like, okay, was it worth it to do that to get your Titan, or should you just get a 980 Ti?
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, really, if you're going to spend the money, they've also got the external boxes as well that you can do. You know.
Now if
I saw that Alienware or whatever. I don't know if you're a PC person, you know, they've got this new external GPU box, you know. It's really cool. You can just plug in whatever GPU you want with it, and it works with their laptop, which is way cool.
I've seen that, but the problem is it's like $2,700. It's just like build a computer.
Yeah, and you know, I was looking for, you know, other versions other than, you know, doing this external power supply thing before I actually decided to do it. And, you know, they've got the GPU boxes. Yeah, they're like $5,000. And that's not including the actual GPUs, you know.
It just doesn't make sense at all. Like, why? I don't get that. I don't get it. But yeah, there's a tutorial that I did on how I did the install. It's not I mean, it shows the process. It's not super specific and detailed.
It does.
But
it shows the process.
It's good enough.
You know, I was able to figure it out. Of course, I did have to call you a couple times.
Yeah, but disclaimer: if you screw something up, it is not my fault. Like that is all at your own risk. I mean, you risk shorting something out or whatever if you do any of the steps wrong. You got to be really, really careful about what you're doing and making sure everything is running correctly and grounded and all that fun stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
So let's move on to Sage of Shadows comments before we wrap up tonight.
Sure. We need to get him on.
Yeah, for reals.
That'd be cool.
He says, we appreciate you being a part of the community, which is cool. We love Cinema 4D subreddit. And he did the first podcast, and you're still there.
Dude, we got we got like 28 subscribers, which I was really happy about. That's super cool.
Well, we didn't really advertise it or anything, so that's pretty cool. I mean, besides this Reddit thing. So, let's see. We dig the first podcast, and no questions or topics or anything. Just wanted to say that it was cool listening to us. And not everything needs to be about how we do XYZ. Just kind of like Ash Thorpe's podcast. Have you seen or listened to Ash Thorpe's podcast?
No, I don't know what it is, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, I need to check it out.
I'm more of a comedy podcast kind of guy.
From what he's saying here is that he can be like a little abrasive at times. And that's the thing about us. We're kind of goofy guys. And so we make, like South Park Canadian jokes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're trying to keep it kind of relaxed like that, you know. He says, what other plugins would you say are worth it for a dirty amateur like me besides Octane? Well, that's good because we did go over some of that. Already.
Yeah. You know, I've heard a lot of stuff about Maxwell Render. Have you used it at all?
Yeah, I have actually. Not for anything specific. I just installed like a trial of it, I think, a long time ago. Mm-hmm. The reason I did it is because I liked that real-time feedback.
Yeah. And,
of course, it is installed into RealFlow as well. That's the render engine that's in RealFlow whenever you're getting your real-time feedback window.
Interesting.
What do you have you messed with it, or have you heard anything about it?
No, I was actually, I mean, it's one that I've seen people mention on the subreddit a couple of times, you know, like there was one a few months ago that was talking about Octane versus Maxwell, you know, price, cost and everything. And people were breaking it down and talking about, you know, well, Octane's so much cheaper, but then they weren't keeping in mind that they had to buy, you know, GPUs as well, you know, which was going to drive up the price in order to get your machine up to snuff or whatever. And then it kind of equaled out the price. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of it. I kind of Googled around with it a little bit.
Is it
the
GPU
other day.
or CPU though?
I don't know. I think it's, don't quote me on it, but I think it's both.
I see. I thought you get the real time feedback, but it's CPU. But I might be wrong.
Could be the case. That could be.
Or it could be
I don't know.
GPU, but
That's the thing. I don't want to really.
Yeah.
You know.
I haven't heard a lot about it with cinema. I'll put it that way. You know, I know I'm a big Octane guy, but I hear about V-Ray and I hear about Octane.
This post was, what is it? This post was sponsored by Octane. Man, that was my favorite quote of the week.
I wish. Oh, I wish.
I'm confused.
You know what I would love is just to be able to play around with a beta copy, or well, it would be an alpha copy, I guess, of Octane 3 and just see where it's heading.
Yeah.
You know,
I know. Tell me about it.
One of these. I know that they're working on stuff that's like Oculus Rift plus Octane together, and I've got both of those things. So it's like, come on, guys, throw me a bone here. I would love to test some stuff out.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people have Octane and Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
So
plugins. That's what I'm looking at. I don't know. We've also got it goes with a lot of stuff. Oh, dude, so like, have you messed around with Moto?
My work
has Moto.
Is it a 3D program?
Yeah, Moto, it's the Foundry, you know?
Oh, right.
It's their 3D program, you know?
No.
I've got it at work and I want to learn it.
No, but I have been looking at the Nuke Studio, or whatever you call it, the Foundry's Studio package now.
Yeah,
like they have a Studio package, and it's like Octane. Gosh, it's it's
got Octane on the brain.
It's Nuke and it's Hero. Hero's like their video editor, but it's not a very feature based editor, I guess. It's pretty cut and dry. Like the new one, I guess, is a little bit better, but the way that their workflows work is really cool, and it allows for, I think we might have talked about this last week, the 1080 output, even in the personal learning edition.
Yeah.
But they do have other things that integrate with that, and I don't know if they're part of Studio. But I believe that Joe is thinking about putting together an intro to using their new Studio package.
Cool. That'd be good.
Yeah, and so maybe Moto's part of that. Maybe we need to get into that.
Yeah. You know, and I want to say I had some Moto tutorials and stuff that I was going to play around with because I was given a whole bunch of them at work. Like, hey, here's some Moto tutorials.
See, even with stuff like Houdini,
yeah,
you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to learn something else. Like, you know what I mean? You get into these programs.
Oh, Octane's so easy. I don't want.
Well, it's really about the fact that, like, I'm not just a 3D guy. You know, I'm also an editor a lot of the time, and I don't want to learn another editing. It was hard for me to switch Final Cut to Premiere. You know,
man, Premiere is so much better.
So much better. Man, and still people still give it guff. I'm like, oh my gosh, so much better.
Much better.
Moving from, and this is way back in the day, but moving from motion to After Effects. When I wasn't that big into motion graphics. Even as far as like audio editors, I prefer to use Logic Pro because...
Yeah, I'm using Audition, but I've been using Audition since Audition was Cool Edit Pro too.
Now, see, I did use Cool Edit Pro. That was one of my first digital audio editors I used, besides the Wave editor program that came with Windows 95.
Nice.
But I did Cool Edit Pro. There was another one that was similar to Cool Edit Pro, and
Fruity Loops.
Fruity Loops. There's Vegas Pro. There's all that stuff.
Vegas. Yeah, I used Vegas.
And then there's SoundForge.
Oh, SoundForge. Man, I loved SoundForge. Yeah. So funny when I was playing music with a band and we recorded a little 3-song EP, you know, and he's got this awesome, like, I think he was running Pro Tools and he had this the Avid Pro Tools specific like board and stuff like that, and we're doing all this great stuff, and he goes through and he mixes it and then he exports it out to SoundForge in order to boost the levels.
Oh geez.
It's like, all right. That's funny.
You get into this stuff, and even going from the old version of Logic Pro to Logic Pro X, where they've done the kind of the same thing they did with Final Cut.
Oh, don't get me started with Final Cut X.
Except the thing is, Logic, they didn't dumb it down. They just made the interface look a little more like, what do you call it, GarageBand.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, the shortcuts changed and all this, and I got to learn this stuff again. And yeah, that's how I feel every time one of these programs comes out, like a tracking program. It's like I tried to learn Synthize, and I tried to learn Buju, and then I learned PFX, and it's like, man, how many of these do I have to learn? Oh, Mocha. Oh, okay, let me learn Mocha. And then Cinema 4D comes out with their own tracking, and I'm like,
Yeah, but you know what? Every single one of those you can put on your resume that you know them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But even with like Nuke, you have to kind of, especially Nuke, you got to re-teach yourself how to do stuff. And
Nuke, I spent like 3 days straight in Nuke, and I could not figure out how to make an alpha channel to save my life.
Oh, I could tell you how to do that.
Well, I'm sure you could.
But the thing is, you start to learn the shortcuts, and if you don't stick with it, then you come back like a month later, and you've forgotten all the shortcuts.
Yep.
And you've forgotten how to do things again, and you got to start over. And it's like, do I want to learn? Do I really want to learn this? How deep do I want to get into this program? That's always my dilemma, because it's not just the fact, like if I were just a 3D guy and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into another 3D program now, okay, that would be like a second program I'm going to learn. But in my day-to-day, I'm learning editing and audio stuff, and I'm doing Photoshop stuff, and I'm doing HTML stuff. I'm using things like Coda, and I'm doing 3D, 2D, Illustrator. Don't get me started on an Illustrator, because it frustrates the crap out of me, because I'm a Photoshop guy, and I think it works that way the other direction too. Like you're pretty much
Illustrator guys hate using Photoshop,
because make the tools the same. Seriously, nothing is the same in that thing.
Yeah. And then you've got After Effects, where you want to use the pen tool, and it's G versus P.
And all of these programs, like Maya and all of them, they don't use ERT, they use WRT.
Yes.
And that drives me insane. And I want to be able to use 1, 2, and 3 in the Option key, and be able to rotate and move around the same in every program. That's my biggest frustration with learning something like Maya or
3ds Max.
No, well, I learned on that a long time. Like that was one of my first ones. So.
Oh.
But what's the
Houdini?
Houdini. And even in Nuke, because there's 3D stuff in it, and plus you move around the viewport kind of the same way. It's like, oh, I just want to have these tools all have the same shortcuts. And
the other day I was in Max, I've barely used Max at all.
Yeah.
So I'm literally spent like an hour trying to figure out how to just navigate. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's that.
I'll tell you, once I figured it out, I really liked Max. I thought it was pretty cool. But having to spend an hour to try and figure out how to actually navigate, instead of just 1, 2, 3, why can't they all just be the same?
Yeah, and Max, the only reason I strayed away from Max is because, I was pretty decent at it, and I became a Mac guy. And that's when it kind of fell off, because they didn't offer it for Mac. And then
that's the biggest thing. That's another reason why I want to get Windows for my Mac, is so that I can actually play with 3ds Max. I really wish there was a Mac version of it.
I don't know why they don't go down that route, because I would definitely play with that. But I tried to get back into 3D, and when you try and get back into 3D from something that's as intuitive as 3D Max, which isn't as intuitive as Cinema, but it's good enough. And then you try to dive into Maya. The Maya interface is just hideous.
It's so hard. It's so hard to deal with. Yeah, I'll say that's one thing that I really liked about Max, was that I could see exactly the similarities between Cinema 4D and 3ds Max.
And once I kind of tried that and I fell off again, I was like, what is this Cinema 4D everybody's talking about,
Yeah.
And I started checking out Grayscale Gorilla and all that kind of stuff. And man, I was like, okay, this I understand. This makes sense. The interface makes sense.
Yeah. The layers was the big thing that did it for me. like I mean, being not necessarily the layers part, but being able to throw stuff into like the children and whatever.
Yes. Not layers themselves, but
not layers
the hierarchy.
Themselves. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I playing around with Maya for that whole semester that I was in that Maya class, I didn't understand why I would make something and there'd be all this extra crap just over in this sidebar, you know? So I'd go through and I'd delete it, and it was very confusing.
Mm-hmm. Sage of Shadow also says, who are your other inspirations?
Myself. No, not me, myself, and I. Let me see. There's this guy on Behance that I follow. By the way, love Behance. If you're not on Behance, get on Behance. Yeah. Behance is awesome.
And Behance is a great like artist block type thing. When you you feel like you're stuck in a rut and you want to go see some stuff and get inspired, man, you just go in there. And you know, that's the thing. I don't have like any one person that's like my inspiration. My inspiration is stuff that I think looks cool. So I'll go on there and then I'll start looking around and I'll start adding people I think are cool. Or a lot of people have like spend a lot of time in there doing like those appreciations and stuff, you know, where they do their own collections. And you could find people that aren't necessarily like super awesome artists, but they have really good taste in collections.
Yeah.
And so you go in and look at their collections and it's like, this is my style. Like this guy knows my style. So you just follow that guy because like, it's just stuff that you think is super sweet.
Yeah. There's this guy, Antonio Luna. When I first got onto Behance, I was just searching around, you know, I started following this guy and he creates some really pretty stuff. And he created this Tecate beer can, you know, and that was my entire inspiration for the 3D soda bottle or whatever.
Bro Cola.
The Bro Cola. Yeah. Because he actually, I mean, he doesn't go through and show you how he does it, but he shows you, you know, the wireframe of it and the clay model and like all the other stuff. And I was able to like kind of pick it apart and see, okay, well, this is how it's done, you know?
Yeah. And that's still the top ranking.
It's like 26,000 views.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now.
I wish I could go back and do it again, you know, because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I could do it so much better.
You could always do an update.
Yeah, I could, but you know,
it's funny.
Never look back, never surrender.
It's funny what now?
Well, I don't know. It's just funny that like that has 27,000 views. It's cool.
26,618 views. Man,
boom.
That's crazy. You never know what's gonna stick, right? You never know what people are gonna like and not like or whatever. Interesting.
Oh no, it was the Nestea bottle. That's what it was, because he actually shows making the splines and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I might have seen
going
that.
through. Yeah, going through and drawing the splines, and then what is it? Lofting this? No, not lofting. Lathing. Yeah, the splines and stuff. It's cool. Like he goes step by step, but I don't know what he is. Maybe he's a Max guy.
Oh, okay.
So. Yeah, and his stuff looks really good. Yeah, and he actually broke apart like the bottle and then the liquid inside the bottle and then the condensation around it, you know, and then added the three together. It looks awesome. Anyway.
He also asks, do you guys have any other creative side projects outside of work to keep the juices going? And, man, outside of work, we run our own company, for one.
Yeah.
That's step one. And then we have Brograph, and then...
Brograph is really the big thing, that we focus on. I mean, that's how we, you got to come up with different ideas to do for tutorials and stuff. And, the podcast is a new thing that we've been doing, which I love. Yeah. I really like. And, like you've got to think of in your day to day thinking about, what can I do as a tutorial? What am I having a problem with? Or that I'm having to Google that I have then figured out. How can I get this out to the people? Yeah, especially when you can't find the answer. Yeah. and you do figure it out. You're like, okay, no one else is doing this solution, and I know there's got to be someone else who needs help on this. So,
There, you know, I don't, you know, I, like we were talking about with the hobbies and stuff earlier too, you know, there's other video stuff I do. Like I have a drone, I fly a drone, you know, that kind of stuff too, which, and the Oculus Rift stuff, I'm always thinking like, how can I combine these things together? You know, and that's always cool to have those other things going because you can think a little outside the box in that aspect. But as far as side projects right now, I have been toying with the idea of doing a like 5-minute short for Oculus Rift because there aren't a lot of video shorts.
Yeah, totally.
And the ones that are shorts are either they're done in a game engine sort of way to where you're walking around, or they're video and they're not good. I've only seen one that I really thought was pretty good, and it still could have been done better. And our buddy Lance was actually toying around with some really cool like mountain scene with like a temple and all this other stuff the other day.
Yeah, that looked cool.
And so
that looked really cool.
I was like, man, you know how that would look really cool in Oculus Rift if you're flying through it. And you know, we started thinking about this, and you know, our other friend Joe, who did the nuke stuff on Brograph, the same way that we did the HDRI wraps and unwraps in Nuke, you can do stuff for Oculus Rift, because with Octane exporting like stereoscopic spherical projection, you can take that into Nuke and Nuke will actually unwrap that. And
cool.
So the advantage to that is you do all your compositing, and you're doing your compositing the right way, like the regular way. You know, that's the hard part. You know, you're trying to do some cool composite and everything's all like distorted looking because it's spherical projected. So you can unproject that and do all of your work and then just pop it right back into place when you're done. So, or we started brainstorming, and we're really toying with doing a short where, you know, Lance and I work on some of the animation stuff. I kind of take care of more of the technical details and the Oculus Rift integration and all that stuff, and Joe works on the compositing for the entire piece. And you know, I really don't get to do a lot of side projects that are not related to something with work, and so that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, you should get involved in it too.
Yes, I should.
We could each do a scene or something, and we can all render an Octane. And
yeah, I was also working on a cartoon a while ago in my free time. That was, we had an artist. Our artist basically drop out and couldn't find another one who would work for free. You know,
joke's on you. I don't have a middle name.
Yep.
You used part of it in one of your tutorials, right?
I did. Yeah.
That was that line.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And I'm looking at this guy's stuff, this Antonio Luna guy. He did an Oreo thing, which is really cool. Like, he then created a displacement map, you know, for all the bumps on the Oreos and stuff. It's cool.
On the Oreos. I think I'll take those home to my cats.
Weird. All right.
Oh, and the last thing Sage says is, do the drone thing. It sounds awesome, which I will.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
We'll get this thing relaunched, and yeah, so.
Cool.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to bed. Start my Monday.
Boo earns.
Boo earns indeed.
All right, man.
All right.
Well, you know, if you like the podcast, if you're just now hearing us for the first time and you want to check out some of our other stuff, you can check us out at brograph.com. We're working on our rebrand, so just ignore that ugly old artwork that we have on there. And mainly, you know, I send a lot of people to our YouTube channel because that's really where the meat of everything is. It's nicely organized, which is...
If you want to skip the commercials, go to Vimeo.
Right.
Just a little tip right there.
Don't tell him that, Matt. youtube.com/Brograph tutorials.
Yeah.
And
if you want to send us an email, actually, you can send us an email at brographtuts, TUTS, @gmail.com.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Just I don't remember. And then we've got we're in the Cinema 4D subreddit all the time. We also
all the time
have Reddit /r/Brograph if you just want a feed of the stuff that we release. If you prefer getting your information that way, we've got we're also the admins on /r/Octane. And what else we got? Facebook, Twitter.
We
put everything on there if you prefer to follow that way. People like to get their information in different ways. Especially in the social aspect. I'm not a big website person. Like, I just personally will just follow someone on Facebook and see what they're posting. So
yeah, see, not me. I'll actually go to the website. Like, I hate having my Facebook feed full of stuff. The only one that I follow is V-Ray for C4D because that's the only place they post.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And you can tell by our YouTube hits and stuff like that. It's very much, that's where our audience is. If you compare our YouTube stuff to our, literally no one goes to the website in comparison to the YouTube channel. So
yeah, I mean, that's why it's been so long since, it's taken so long for us to actually get around to it. That, and we've been crazy busy, or at least Dave has.
Yeah, and also we send out a newsletter every once in a while. So if you want to sign up for that, that's on the website. There's a little newsletter link. And that's all of our social junk.
Yeah, junk.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, I don't know if we're going to do one next week or not, but
probably not.
But we'll do one within the next month for sure. And
we're hoping to have some special guests on. So maybe we can convince Sage of Shadows to come on. I don't know. Sage of Shadows, what do you think?
Do it, man.
Do it
now.
Because he's a V-Ray guy, right? I believe.
I don't know. Architectural.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
Yeah, he's the one who's always telling us to put baseboards on. Right?
Oh, right. Well, you need baseboards.
That's always the first thing I do when I build a room now is put baseboards on.
Nice.
Anyway.
All right, man. Well, it's been fun.
Yes, it has.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah. All right. This is Brograph. I'm Matt Milstead.
I'm Dave Koss.
You guys have a good night.
Later, bros.
Later, bros.
It's pretty good, I guess. Brograph.com, an online resource for learning critical components of Cinema 4D and After Effects, specifically catered to help you prevail as a motion graphic designer.
What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph motion graphics tutorial.
We give you professional time-saving tips, shortcuts, and lessons that help give you an edge over your fellow designers. Not only this, but our new Brograph Talks help you in your file management, hardware configuration, and client relations.
I love projects that scare me. When our art director comes to us and asks for something that I had never done before, man, it gets me pumped.
Join us for live sessions, check out our crazy Cinema 4D experiments, or just watch our Fun with Brograph series, where we show you practical applications for techniques learned in previous tutorials. Do this from the beginning, and your client is going to respect that, and they're going to respect you, and they're going to respect your time. Subscribe today and get automatic updates on the latest tutorials, tricks, tips, and inspiration brought to you by industry professionals Dave Koss and Matt Milstead, all with a slight dash of dry humor peppered in. Real nice banana.
Brograph.com, your source for tutorials that will help you thrive in the motion graphics industry. Don't just play around with Cinema 4D and After Effects, master it, and make money by becoming indispensable at your workplace.
We don't care how you get here, folks. Just get here. Subscribe now to Brograph Tutorials. It's pretty good, I guess.